this is episode 3 of the podcast, which is very appropriate since there's only 3 good Star Wars movies.
You choose which 3.
Yeah, you can choose which 3. I'm joined again by Bliestek, also known as Nathan in some circles.
Yes, in the human circles.
And we're just going to talk a little bit about Star Wars, the new releases coming up, and talk about some of the older franchise stuff as well, stuff that has been released. And just to, first off, there will be some spoilers for those of you who haven't even, like, Mando Series 1, Clone Wars and all that, so there will be some spoilers for that in here, I'm sure. But just so you know where I'm up to, Nathan, I'm about halfway through Season 2 of Mandalorian.
Oh, okay. So we can't talk about the biggest spoilers then.
No, I'm not quite at the biggest bits, but I've seen like the Crate Dragon.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible, because like I didn't play Knights of the Old Republic, but a friend of mine, I used to watch him play it back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things was always that, Knights of the Old Republic had some really cool creatures in there. One of them was the Crate Dragon, and one of the big missions was going to kill one of those. And I'll never forget that. So when they were like, oh, the Crate Dragon, well, actually, even before they mentioned it, when they showed the thing underneath the sand in the show, I was just like, is this going to be a Crate Dragon? I was like, what? Oh, my God. How cool is that? So, yeah, I was just like completely on board from the beginning on Season 2.
And they did a really good scene. Like, it was a really good episode for it. So, like, the way they did all the action and the way they set it all up. It was so good.
For sure.
Yeah. Yes, no. Well, just hold in there because it gets better and better.
The last spoiler I've seen, and I want to sort of talk on this a little bit, and you probably know more than I do at this point, but is when Ahsoka asks about General Thrawn.
Yes.
I think his name is?
Yeah.
And really funny to me, because one of the biggest complaints about episodes 7, 8, and 9 was that they basically just rehashed 4, 5, and 6. Like, they didn't come up with anything new. And the fan base of Star Wars was just like, I know you guys are under a lot of stress. You're Disney. You have to make billions of dollars, but just bear with us. You've got all of this material you could work with, and the best one would have been bringing General Thrawn.
Oh, yeah.
So when they mentioned it in the show, I'm like, Dave Filoni, you scoundrel.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think that there's likely going to be an opening for Thrawn in the Ahsoka series that has just been announced.
Yeah.
So, because I think that's going to be very much tied around the events post Star Wars Rebels, the animated series.
Oh, yeah. Which I still haven't finished yet, but I don't think I ever will, if I'm honest. Well, like you told me, you said watch Clone Wars, like the animated Clone Wars series.
Yeah. Because
the first couple of seasons are pretty crap and, more aimed at children, but they get better and better.
Yeah.
100% right. By the last series, I was like, man, there's no more. They were getting so damn good.
Yeah.
And then Rebels is just like it
almost starts again. It's like it starts from that childish sort of thing again, and then works its way back up again, the exact same way the Clone Wars does. But it means you have to go through that initial thing, like initial hard part again.
Yeah, I did try to push through it. I'm like 3 seasons in, I think, but I was just over it.
Oh, you're getting there. You're getting to the good stuff now.
It was just getting a chore to watch it,
Yeah.
I was sitting there, Mandalorian Season 2 had just completed, and I'm like, still want to go back and watch Rebels. It's like, a list, a checklist of your chores you need to do around the house. You're like, empty the bins, mow the lawn, watch a Rebels episode. I could probably get away with not doing the last one.
Well, if I was you, I would look at trying to finish it before the Ahsoka series comes out. So you got plenty of time still. But if Ahsoka's based around what I think it's going to be, then it's definitely worth finishing off Rebels just for that fact. But I mean, it could go a complete opposite way. But it does say that it is based in the same timeline, I believe, as Mandalorian. I'm pretty sure it said it was. I have to look. I've got a little picture somewhere that tells me. Anyway, but yes. So anyway, that's I'm pretty excited for that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for all the seasons they've announced, mostly because they seem to be doing this as a bit of a knee jerk to the success of Mandalorian, which I'm all for because they nailed that series. As long as they take notes from it, they should make some really good content.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, as long as they don't do what they did to the main movies in the
I don't think they will.
Just
I think now they've got like Dave Filoni and what's his name? Mental blank.
Jon Favreau.
Yes, they'll be fine. Yes, I just double checked. Ahsoka is in the same timeline as the Mandalorian. So because obviously there was quite a few that were announced. There's 4 in the same timeline, including the Mandalorian altogether. They were released that day.
Yeah, and like the Bad Batch and the likes are going to be back in the Clone Wars?
So we've got
No, the Bad Batch was during the Age of the Empire, wasn't it?
No, like Bad Batch was Bad Batch was clone. Well, it's just after Episode 3. So it goes Clone Wars, the Clone Wars series. Then it goes Episode 3 because pretty much Clone Wars finishes at the start of it. Well, part way through Episode 3. And then Bad Batch is after that. And then the new Obi-Wan Kenobi series has just been announced.
Oh, can't wait for that.
That's going to be after that, which is just before Solo. And then after Solo is the new Lando series.
I wonder too, because I know with Solo, because the Solo movie, they actually plans a trilogy in and of itself of, those alternate Star Wars stories.
Yeah.
But after the reception was really poor on that movie, they canned the other 2. I wonder if the Lando series is actually reviving that.
It could be. And it could be also just trying to pave way to see whether they may even go down the path of making Solo into a series as well. It wouldn't surprise me.
Damn good movie.
I think the future of Star Wars is on the small screen. I don't think it's on the big screen anymore. I think the big screen's good, but let's be honest, I'd rather sit at home and binge watch than go to a cinema.
Yeah.
So
I still stand by what I've told you once before. Small screen for like expanding the universe and telling stories about the people within the universe, and then big screen for like the bombastic battles.
Yeah.
And big saga stuff. Yeah.
It's almost like you could almost do the special episodes of the TV series. So you could like all this stuff preempting to it, and it starts to get to a big climax, and then you make a movie that is the climax, and then you can settle back down again to the series afterwards. But there's also the Andor series, Cassian Andor one. That's just after Lando, but at the same time as Star Wars Rebels.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, that's just before Rogue One. So Rebels and Andor is just timelined before Rogue One. Although I think Rebels does go through that period as well, but that's when it starts. And then there's the new Rogue Squadron movie, which comes out. It is based between 4 and 5, Episode 4 and Episode 5.
Yeah, which you sort of theorise might tie in with the Rogue Squadron game a little bit.
Yeah, I reckon there's aspects of the game that I reckon, like especially characters that might show up. So which means if that's the case, it'll be characters such as Hera, which is in Rebels. And who's the other one? Luke's friend from the movies. Wedge? No, we're not Wedge.
Is it Drax or Dax or something?
Oh, yeah, I can't remember. Unless it is Wedge I'm thinking of. It's not Luke's friend, though, is it? Is Wedge Luke's friend?
I'm trying to remember because he in the Battle of Hoth, he dies, doesn't he?
I can't remember. One of them.
You're like, spoiler.
Anyway, one of them that's from the original trilogy, is in the Rogue Squadron game. So I reckon it could be around that too. Then I don't know. I assume that you knew about this one yet, because this actually got announced in the very last episode of Mandalorian in post-credits scene. But it's not really a spoiler. It's just more of a like we're surprised. But the Boba Fett series, did you hear about
I can't say I did, to be honest, but that's really cool.
Yeah, so
young Boba or old Boba?
So same timeline as Mandalorian.
Yep, so old Boba.
Yeah,
which is still good.
Yes. And I won't spoil the post-credit scene for you because it's pretty cool. But because they didn't announce it on the same day as all the others because they wanted to do that surprise in the post-credit scene.
Yep.
So, but yeah, so that's going to be pretty cool.
That's how they should do it.
Yeah, and it was a pretty cool scene, and it looks like it's going to set up the future of that series, which is pretty cool. So the 4 that are in the Mandalorian timeline. So there's a Mandalorian, there's Boba Fett, the Ahsoka, and then Rangers of the New Republic. Which
I think is that last one I have the least interest for.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's going to be exactly. The only thing I can think of...
staying away from promotional material and trailers and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll watch probably at least the first couple of episodes of each series, and whatever hooks me, I'll keep watching.
Yes.
But I'm just sick of getting everything spoiled in trailers, I'm over that.
Well, thankfully, there's not really any trailers that do anything at the moment. So, actually, there was one thing that I missed. The Acolyte? Star Wars Acolyte. Yes, that's before episode 1.
Before episode 1?
Yeah, in the timeline, that's where it sits. So I don't even know what that is. I don't even have any idea of what that Acolyte is. I've got no idea. I'm assuming there's a book on it, but and then we got Star Wars Visions and Star Wars A Droid Story. Apparently, they both don't follow the timeline, which I don't know.
A droid story.
Yeah, a droid story. So it's around R2D2 and C3PO apparently.
Okay.
And
I mean, to be fair, I found this thing the other day and I thought it was pretty funny because it's so true. Is R2D2 is the only character to have been there from the very beginning, from episode 1 all the way through to the very last movie, without having his memory wiped or anything. So he's seen everything.
Oh yeah. Yeah, just imagine how much data he got. he got data.
Yeah, it's under a file named PTSD.exe,
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Poor buddy.
Apparently, the story for that one is along the lines of they find a new hero to guide or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it said, but something along those lines. But it says here, now this could be wrong because this has been developed by like a fandom. Areas or whatever.
I did assume it was a fan-made thing.
Yeah.
Typically pretty
timelines.
Close to the chest with this stuff. So
yeah, but it does say that Visions, which I'm not even sure what that is, but Visions and A Droid Story are both what they classify as minis and shorts that do not follow the timeline. Which makes me think that they probably sit in there somewhere, but they're probably going to be completely separate series to everything else. So the only thing that will relate them at all to the originals will be the fact that C-3PO and R2-D2. Which is fine. If that means there's no tie-ins, then that's cool, whatever. But
I'm always happy with that stuff because, again, Star Wars, to me, is less of a serialization and more of an actual exploration into a different universe. Silly as it sounds to say it out loud, but you think like the Marvel series, right, just sort of follows a series of events that happens within that universe. But Star Wars is a universe with a lot of things happening in it outside of the main conflicts. And seeing those additional bits and pieces get displayed in an interesting way, it's always a go for me. Like, again, Knights of the Old Republic, that old game. Which, it's based, I think it's based like 2,000 years before the New Republic. So it's like way removed from the Star Wars that we know. But there's so much happening in it that's so damn cool. It just breathes life into this idea that there's this universe that you can explore in this fandom.
Yeah, and I just love what they're doing with it at the moment. Just they're expanding. I like how they're just expanding our knowledge of the current universe without necessarily segregating too much for everything. I like how they're expanding this out, and I must admit they're releasing a whole lot more than I ever thought they would. I mean, I never expected them to do that many, but I like that they're also taking, okay, cool, look at this center of the universe, let's go and look at this whole different one, and it's like, you know, it's operating alongside the existing one. But it's that's what I like what they're going to do with I assume Visions and R2D2.
I still see it's with Star Wars and like the way Disney handled it is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they're like, oh, we're going to churn out like billions of dollars with this franchise. It's going to be great. So let's introduce a heap of movies that turn their franchise on its head and creates a lot of new like merchandising opportunities. And let's be honest, that's something Star Wars has always been about. Let's not pretend that's new.
Yeah.
But they didn't sort of take care of the franchise that they had. They just sort of flipped it to try and make money.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they did was make The Mandalorian, and it's not low budget by any means, but it's sort of like they were like, oh, we'll make the show. And then that took off like absolute wildfire and just struck like all the Baby Yoda memes that just exploded on the internet. And I'm sure their subscriptions to Disney Plus shot through the roof.
100%.
And they've gone, all right, there's something in that formula that we didn't do right with the movies.
Yeah.
And I fully believe it's having Dave Filoni at the helm.
Yeah, 100%.
Because he's a Star Wars fanatic.
Yeah.
Like in the best fanboy sort of way.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched the making of, like the season 1 making of series for Mandalorian, do it. Because sometimes it's just funny to watch how into it he is, you know?
Yeah. But it's good because that's what we need. Because it's kind of like you need someone that understands and appreciates how that universe works, rather than someone coming in cold like, oh yeah, you need a director? Oh sure, I'll direct an episode, you know, whatever. And I mean, they have no idea how it works. So may have never watched Star Wars before, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, well then you got no idea what you need to do. It definitely, you can definitely tell the dynamic between people are different in The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker versus The Last Jedi. There was just a difference there. It just didn't feel the same.
I still feel like they should have had a plan.
Yeah.
Before, that was the one thing George Lucas had. Like you can you know, say the first like episodes 1 through to 3 are bad.
Yeah.
But you can't argue that George had his story major plot points down packed before he even started shooting.
Yeah.
Like he sort of knew this is how we're going to have the universe go. Maybe like the conversations and that he hadn't worked out, but the overall shift in the way he wanted the series to go, he knew before he started. And then you got 7, 8, 9, and they just sort of went, all right, we'll rehash episode 4 in the first one. And then the second one, because the fans got mad, we'll just throw it all away out the window. And then because the fans got mad because we just don't know what we're doing, in the third one, we're going to show them just that we know what we're doing by backtracking on an entire movie. It's like, okay, good one.
Yeah. Yes.
I feel like with that sort of logic, I could be an executive.
Hey, well, you never know. Maybe you're exactly what they need.
Yeah, that's it. Put my hand up. I've got no prior history of talent, but neither of you guys.
Well, I just had a look. Apparently, the Star Wars Vision series is an anime series.
I see what you mean. That we'll see some of the world's best anime creators bring their talent to this beloved universe. That'll be very interesting.
Definitely.
There's a lot of ways that could go.
Oh yeah. But I guess we'll see.
Hopefully good, because I'm right into anime.
Yeah.
As long as it's good anime.
Well, that's right. I'm not into. I wouldn't say I'm into it, but I do enjoy it if it's good anime.
Now that you've said that, I have to recommend One Punch if you haven't seen it. The only downside of the One Punch anime series is it will ruin all other anime for you.
Yeah. So in other words, watch everything else and then watch that last when I'm about to retire from watching anime series. So wait till after I watch Visions before I do it.
Yeah, well, that's actually what I'm a little bit worried about.
So I got a question for you then. So what is the new series you're looking forward to the most overall then?
That's a good question. I would have to say the Obi-Wan series, mostly because Ewan McGregor's portrayal of Obi-Wan is just perfect. And I can't wait to see him back on it, you know?
Well, and I mean, they've confirmed Hayden Christensen's come back as Vader.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's awesome too.
Yeah.
That would be wicked.
But it makes me wonder what that means. That could mean they actually did say as well that there will be a battle between them, a rematch. But so it makes me wonder though whether he'll just make a quick appearance for a fight in the series and that's it. You know what I mean? Like it's like this big anticipation, and let's be honest, they kind of do it with the Mandalorian where they're like, you can tell something's coming, but they just drag it and drag it and drag it and drag it, and then poof, there it is.
I do get that because like people, you know, it was a given that Ahsoka was in season 2 of The Mandalorian, and so was Boba Fett.
Yes. Yeah.
And of course, they like to be like, just tease you. Oh, there's a Jedi called, you know, Ahsoka on this planet, and like 2 episodes later, you meet her and she's in like half an episode and then gone.
Yeah. I must admit, though, I found it very interesting that they actually started the episode off with her, because it's not like it just felt like that's something that they wouldn't have done. I feel like they would have introduced her right at the last 5 minutes for 5 minutes and that's it. But they actually made her the centerpiece of the episode. Yeah. Anyway.
No, he's further in the series too, but when he's introduced, because I'm like, when they said there's another Mandalorian, I'm like, oh, so they're just going to put him straight in there. And, you know, the guy walks in wearing Boba's armor. I'm like, that ain't Boba Fett. No. Like, you could tell this guy's like tall and lanky. I'm like, that ain't him. And then he takes off the helmet. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, they're going to play it out a bit. And then right at the end of the episodes, they're just flashing for a second. It's like, oh, okay. Couldn't help yourself.
So that's what you've seen?
That's the last I've seen of Boba. Okay, I know he comes in later.
I won't say anything else then.
But no, you won't. Don't spoil it for me. It's going to be good. I'm actually excited for when he's back in the series, because when they said that they got the actor who did like the clones and Jango Fett, that's some real dedication there for them to approach this guy and be like, can you, reprise this role? Yeah. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. And then to give him his own series now too. I knew they were going to do it. I knew that. Same with Ahsoka. I knew they were going to. They're just going to put him on the small screen and use it as a mini pilot. Pretty much get everything ready to go, but just make sure that they're received well. And then as soon as they know they've been received well, it's like, sweet, you get your own series. And that's what they've done. But I'm torn between the Ahsoka series and the Obi-Wan series because I mean I've watched all of Rebels, and because she's, especially towards the end of Rebels, she's quite heavily involved with it. And because I know that I know aspects of what the story could be moving forward, that really excites me. The Obi-Wan series, it makes me a little bit more question, like, what could this really be about? Because I feel like this. I mean, we know that he went to Tatooine and was looking after Luke from a distance, but there's little aspects like the Clone Wars. Is it Clone Wars? Or was it Rebels? That's Rebels. There's like another rematch between Maul and Obi-Wan and stuff like that. So we know that Obi-Wan's been there and everything like that, but it's kind of like, well, how could he have kept his cover if Vader still knows he exists? So it's kind of like, okay, I'd be interested to see how this goes, and I think it'll be good. Don't get me wrong, I think it'll be absolutely amazing. But I've got a bit more of a prediction of what Ahsoka could be about, and that it really excites me because I can see all the pieces. I can start to see the pieces starting to go together already, with the Thrawn dialogue and all that stuff in Mandalorian. So I think if I was going to have to pick one at the moment, I would probably pick Ahsoka, purely because of all the stuff I know. But I'm glad that I don't have to pick, so I still get both.
That's right. And I find it funny, like Ahsoka, to me at least, in like the original Clone Wars season, like season 1, she was my least favorite character, and then through this Clone Wars seasons became my most favorite. Yeah, and like it's funny to me because originally I was like, I really hate this character. Like they've made her whiny, they've made her stupid, Yeah. And by the end of it, you're like, go Ahsoka, you're the backbone here.
yeah, that's right. I mean, obviously, I think that's really what they were trying to do, and it worked, obviously, because now everyone loves her. Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining me and for geeking out about Star Wars a bit.
Anytime. I love to geek about Star Wars.
For those listening out there, you can submit questions or topics through to BBM podcast at bigbrainmedia.org and or at Big Brain Media on Twitter.